Well, hey there, bright light. Speaking of bright light, forgive my setup today. The lighting in here is terrible, and I'm like trying to overcome this perfectionism thing. I don't know if you can relate. So I figure done is better than perfect. And so my studio looks a little wonky, but the lighting is better over here so that you can actually see me. So, with that, let's jump right in. Welcome to Urban Shamanism with Steffi Funk, where I give you the sacred tools for the extraordinary life you were born to lead. And so today we continue with our Kill the Dragon series, right? So the last few weeks we have been working with tools and weapons to overcome the fear dragons that try to take us out on a daily basis and derail us from manifesting our true divine purpose into the world. And as a reminder, our true divine purpose is always that thing that is the perfect combination of our specific gifts, talents, strengths, experiences, desires, joys, and even our messes, where our mess then becomes our message. And so we all have this innate sort of, tickling inside of us that says, hey, I think I was put here for something more than this. And it's those fear dragons that try to tell us that we are crazy. They try to tell us that who are you to create something amazing and awesome and beautiful in this world? Like, who do you think you are? That'll never work. It's all the fears and the doubts and the things that try to take you out. And so they're the first things I want to work with to help you manifest your divine purpose, because if we don't deal with those, it's really hard to work with the expansive, juicy, flowy energy that is also part of manifesting our divine purpose. So, first week we did the golden key. Go back and watch it if you haven't. The second week we did awareness of the dragons as parasitic energy, and we worked with tools to be able to get rid of it. Now this week I want to work with a new strategy, and again, these are all tools for your arsenal. So you just throw them in your arrow bag, and when one of those dragons shows up, whip an arrow out, use it. So you can pick and choose. And sometimes when a fear dragon comes up for me, I'll try one method that's worked for me every time, and then that day it just doesn't work. It falls flat, it's not working. I'm like, this sucks. So then I'll whip out another one that just feels maybe a little bit more in alignment with where I am and how vicious that particular fear dragon is. Sometimes they're so vicious that it's all I can do to face it, and I just don't have it in me to try to do positive thinking and call in the light. It's just so got me by the balls that I just need something down and dirty. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So this method is called drop the story, get into the body. And here's how it works. So the moment one of those fear dragons starts to rear its ugly head, so it's got you in a story, right? And because they always work like that. The dragons always show up in some sort of thought process that we are down, that then changes the way we feel inside. So our thoughts will actually direct our feelings. Now, if we just let an emotion be an emotion, emotion stands for energy in motion. So if we just let it be that and give it the 90 seconds that it needs to move through our bodies completely, we will be through that emotion and through the other side. The problem is when we get stuck in the story. We start to feel the emotion, then we try to justify it, validate it, rationalize it, blame it, you name it, and now we are off on some story that has nothing to do with why we actually feel the way we do. And you know how I know that? Is anytime you are triggered, it actually has nothing to do with the thing you think is triggering you. It has to do with something that happened in your childhood, probably before you were 7 years old, that made you feel like shit, but you weren't equipped at that age to deal with it. And so it became a repressed and buried emotional charge that now comes up over and over and over and over and over again in your life. Because you'll notice that when you feel bad, the feeling is familiar. So the story may be different, the story may be the same, but you have felt that feeling before, and you have probably felt it since you were 4 years old. And in fact, you've probably been feeling it for lifetimes, because the trauma that whatever happened, in whatever happened before you were 7, you probably don't even remember it, because we also don't have the cognitive memory type programming built in. So it happened, we didn't even remember it, it got stored as the stuck blocked energy inside of us, and now we're dealing with the trauma of it forever. But whatever happened was probably based on whatever your karma is throughout lifetimes. But guess what? This gets to be the lifetime that you resolve it. Huge and amazing. So the last thing I kind of want to drive home before we get into how to work with it is that you can actually celebrate every time you feel bad, because what it is a reminder, oh, I have a stuck or blocked energy inside me that hasn't been integrated, and this is my opportunity to do that. And it's hard sometimes when you feel terrible to actually have that gratitude, but that's another tool in your toolkit. It's oh my gosh, this is actually my tapestry. This is my work in this lifetime, and probably in multiple lifetimes, and this is my opportunity to integrate it. So when you get triggered, drop the messenger and get the message. And the message is always that there's something inside of you that is seeking out integration, a stuck or blocked energy that's showing up as a fear dragon, because we don't know what to do with that. So the mind starts to get a hold of it, and it makes a crazy story out of it. And then we're off and living in la la dreamland in our story, and we're not actually present to what's happening. So see how seductive the fear dragons are? They're come play with me over here. Don't deal with the core inner work, because if you do, then you are going to rise as the light worker you were born to be and do the work you were put here to do. And then I, as the fear dragon, die, because their survival depends on your inadequacy. And they were put here by a higher order, probably chosen by you for your own spiritual growth. But all that aside, you don't need to resist them either, right? They were actually put here because as you overcome them, you grow as a soul and a spiritual being, which was your whole point in coming to Earth anyway. So yay, celebrate the fear dragons. You chose them. Back to how to work with them though, so that they don't derail you from what you really came here to do, which is fulfill on that divine purpose work you were put here to do. So the next time you are triggered, I want you to immediately drop the story. Just a note, my mind is going there. Dropping the story. Dropping the story. Where are you dropping? I want you to drop into your body where you feel that stuck emotion. Now, everybody's a little different in this. I tend to feel mine here in my heart center. A lot of times it shows up in my heart. I get real constricted in my heart, when I'm feeling bad. Occasionally, if I'm dreading something, I feel it in my stomach. And that's your power center, right? So that makes sense. It's I don't feel in my power, so I'm dreading what's going to happen. But I mostly feel it in my heart. So it changes. So I want you to just drop the story and get in tune with where you're feeling that emotion in your body. That is where the stuck energy is. And for 90 seconds, you can set a timer on your phone. For 90 seconds, you are going to breathe into that spot. And you are going to feel that emotion. Because one of the reasons why creating a story around our emotions works so well is it kind of stops us from feeling the emotion, right? We're so cut off from it that then we're off in storyland, and we're not actually dealing with the feeling, because we, at some level, are afraid to feel. So in this instance, you are giving yourself permission to feel for 90 seconds everything. Is it worth feeling something for 90 seconds, even if it's painful, so that you can release it for good? Yeah, otherwise you're going to be living with this karma for lifetimes and lifetimes, like a thorn in your energy field. Like, take 90 freaking seconds. Seriously. It is so worth it. And so you're going to allow it. You're going to breathe into it. You're going to give it space. And you're not going to try to change it. You're just going to completely let it be exactly the way it is. And with that, you're giving it, probably for the first time in the emotion's whole stuck life, acceptance. Maybe even a bit of compassion. It's like you're saying, hey there, feeling, I see you. You are allowed to be. Doesn't that feel good? Isn't that going to make for a feeling that's not trying to fight so hard for your attention, because you are giving it some attention, some care, some compassion, some love, some acceptance, some breath, and really a lot of spaciousness. And then when you've given it 90 seconds, like I say, set your alarm, just like really give it that space. And then I want you to just come to a place of saying this mantra. It's okay if it is. It's okay if it isn't. It's okay if it is. It's okay if it isn't. So it's like, I can feel fear, or I can feel pain, or I can feel hurt, and I can say, it's okay if it is, it's okay if it isn't, it's okay if I do, it's okay if I don't. And you create this real neutrality around the feeling so that you are not so attached to this idea of happiness, right? Because like the true work in enlightenment isn't to feel good all the time. It's to feel all the time. So it's not to feel better, it's to get better at feeling. So when you say it's okay if it is, it's okay if it isn't, you're no longer attached to needing to feel a certain way to be okay. You can feel like shit and still be okay. It's mind-blowing stuff. It's like, oh my God, you don't have to seek anymore. You don't have to try so hard, because you are totally okay with every emotion. The only thing we really fear is our own feelings. We don't really fear any situation. We fear how we feel about a situation. So when you give yourself unconditional acceptance of all your feelings, just as they are, it's okay if they are, it's okay if they aren't. Like, you are so empowered. And then, to take it one little baby step further, maybe give it some love. Maybe even give it some love. Maybe even give that inner child, that 7-year-old you or that 4-year-old you that experienced a pain and had no tools for dealing with it, some love, some acceptance, some care, some compassion. And know that you are now in a position and in a capacity to be able to handle it in a way you couldn't when you were that age. And just give that inner child inside of yourself a big, huge hug and say, I'm here for you. Because that's all that the triggering event in your world was designed to do. Was to wake you up so that you can care for your own inner state and get out of all the noise and racket and integrate. So with that, we get to our practice for the week, and that is drop the story, find the feeling in your body, breathe into it for 90 seconds, and then give it some neutrality, maybe even some love, and maybe even some celebration, because you are in that moment resolving karma and unfolding and unveiling the light worker within. So with that, I want to hear from you below. How does this work for you? How does this feel for you? Do you like this as a tool in your toolkit? If you use it, how did it work? And maybe go ahead and comment below after you've done this process some of the things that you noticed. So I can't wait to hear from you, and I look forward to you doing that inner shaman practice this week and letting me know. So far we have 3 different tools we're working with. The golden key, the dragons as a parasitic entity that you can get rid of, and then finally this, which is the feel the feeling in the body work. And so I'd love to know which is your favorite. Again, comment below, let me know. I hope you have a beautiful week. I can't wait to see you next week with the next process that's going to help you derail those fear dragons so that you can rise as the light worker that I know and you know you were born to be. I'll see you then. Have a great week.